Hey, so I've been a realtor for more than 10 years. I've bought and sold several properties for myself and obviously lots and lots of properties for my clients. And I was thinking, if I was going to buy a property in 2025, what are the things that I would really look out for? What are some of the tactical things I would think about? And I wanted to share them with you. I have a list of 5 specific things that I would look at. The last one's a little bit controversial and I actually don't recommend it to my clients, but it's something that I would do and I'm going to share it with you in this video. So let's get into it. By the way, my name is Pritesh Parekh and I lead a Toronto-based real estate team helping buyers and sellers all across the GTA. If you're looking to buy or sell and have any sort of questions about what kind of opportunities there are in the market right now, you can click that first link in the description below and book a 15-minute call with me or somebody on my team. And if you're new to this channel, feel free to subscribe by clicking the subscribe and the bell, and then you'll get more videos like this. All right, so what are these 5 things that I would look out for? Well, I was giving it some thought. There's obviously lots and lots of things I would think about, but these are 5 specific ones that I think are really tactical that anybody can do in this market. The last one, you know what, I'll share that one at the end because I'm not sure if that's gonna be suitable for most buyers out there, but it is something I would do. So the first point is when I'm looking at actual listings. So the first thing I would do is look at price reduced properties. Okay. So when you're actually looking for listings, and you may or may not be able to get access to this based on what app you're using or what program you're using, but your realtor can definitely do this for you and give you guidance. You can actually find all the properties on the market right now that have been price reduced. Now, given that we're in 2025 right now, we know that sellers have been struggling somewhat depending on the market to sell. There's been a lot of inventory. And so sellers have been needing to do some sort of price reductions, which indicates to me as the buyer in this scenario that they're probably a little bit more motivated on price and we can probably negotiate a little bit more. So that is the first thing I would look at. The second thing I would look at is look at the days on market of the property market on property. So you can actually see exactly how many days a particular property has been sitting on the market. And I would tend to try to look for properties that have been on the market for at least a minimum of 30 days, which would indicate to me that the property didn't sell instantly and right away, and that the seller is probably a little bit more motivated at this time. So there's, again, different ways to do this. Your realtor can do this in a search if that's something you're interested in figuring out. You can actually have all this different criteria of what you're looking for and then have an additional field that says to look at only properties that have been on market for at least 30 days. The extra thing to look at here is that some properties might look like they've been on the market for fewer days. So maybe you see 10 days on market, but they may have actually been listed before as a separate listing. So that's something to always think about and look at is this the first time the property has been listed? And you can look at the history for any property to see how many times it's been listed, and something, again, your realtor can help you out with. So I would look at least 30 days on market to indicate to me that they may have a little bit more wiggle room on price. All right, so the first 2 points are specific things I'd look at when it comes to the criteria, which is looking for price reduced and looking for at least 30 days on market. The third point I want to talk about is looking for a specific type of property in 2025 that actually hits my location and layout goals. So location and layout. And the reason I say this is because it's obviously really hard to get every single one of the check marks that you have for criteria, depending on how many must-haves or wants that you want. But the ones that I'd focus on in this market right now are location and layout, because these are specifically 2 things that you cannot change later on. And since there is some negotiating power in this market right now and buyers do have a little bit more power, I would really focus on getting the types of properties that have the location and layout that I want, and then do not have some of the other attributes that I might want, but I can actually change. So for example, paint color, the quality of the flooring, the type of countertop in the kitchen, things like this can be easily changed. They're not major renovations that take a long time or a lot of people to do, but they are things that you can actually do for a certain amount of money, which might make sense if you can negotiate when you're buying. So I would focus on getting the things I cannot change in a property, and then give up on some of the things that I can change myself, because I don't have to do it right away. I can take some time with it, maybe do it in the next year or two or more. Okay, so now we're looking at a price reduced property. It's been on the market for more than 30 days and it hits my location and layout goals. So what is the fourth thing? Well, the fourth thing is when it comes to negotiation, there's a lot of different levers you can pull. So when it comes to the closing date, and let me explain that in 1 second, I would give up the closing date to the seller if it allows me to have more negotiating power on price. Let me explain what that means. One of the things you're able to negotiate when you buy a home is what date you're going to get the key. So that's called the closing date. So if we're negotiating an offer today, we might say that we want to actually take possession of the property 60 days from now. So that gives me 2 months to figure everything out and then actually go move into the property, get the key, and it's officially mine. From the seller standpoint, they might have a different goal. So for example, they might want a 30-day closing because the property is already vacant and they want to get it off their hands so they can stop paying their mortgage or whatever it is. That's something that they might want, which is different from what you might want. And this is a point where I personally, if I was buying a house in 2025, I would give up that closing date to the seller in order to give me more negotiating power on the price. This wouldn't be suitable for everyone, obviously, because you might have a reason that you need exactly 60 days or whatever it might be to close. So you might not have that flexibility. I would give myself that flexibility and make sure that I can use that to negotiate stronger on price. Now, this fifth point is controversial, and just to be clear, I actually never recommend this to my actual clients. This is something I would do if I was buying in 2025, and it might make sense for someone, and they are free to do this if they want, but this is not advice. I usually don't recommend it, but it's something that I would do. And for number 5, I'm going to be talking about the financing condition. So when you buy a home, you are able to put in an offer that is conditional on something else happening. So something that gives a buyer a lot of confidence is to be able to put in a financing condition, which means, hey, here's an offer. I'm offering to buy this place at this price. However, it's only under the condition that the bank will give me the financing and the mortgage to purchase this place. And then the seller has to wait 2, 3, 4, 5 days, whatever the conditional period is, for the buyer, which in this case would be me, to figure out my own financing. This is a huge benefit to the buyer, and therefore I always recommend my buyer clients to put in this condition. But if I was buying a home in 2025, I would actually opt to remove that condition, which would give me a lot of negotiating power on the price, because a seller does not want a conditional offer. They would want a firm offer with no conditions in it. Now, this would expose me to some risk because I am putting in an offer that will go firm right away, and I'm not giving myself another chance to go back to the bank and see if they'd finance this property, see what the appraisal would come back for. So there are risks in doing this. However, in order to mitigate that risk, I would get a pre-approval from the bank to make sure that they would give me that amount of money for the loan that I need. And then I have the confidence that I would be able to finance the property. Again, there are other risks such as appraisals that may be attached to this. So I don't recommend this to most buyers or any buyers really, but this is what I would do if I was buying in 2025. I'm curious to know, especially on point number 5, what do you think of these points if you were buying in 2025? Do you agree with the 5 points that I mentioned today? Are there other things that maybe I didn't mention? Comment below. Tell me if there's anything I missed, or if you disagree with any of these points. But that is what I would do as a purchaser in 2025. If you want to talk about the market, understand some of the opportunities out there as a buyer or seller, you can definitely book a 15-minute call with me or someone on my team. There's a link in the description below for you to do that. I appreciate you watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.